I don't want to get into the mix with everybody and personalities. I like my goal is to make things about right and wrong and not about personalities. But I do want to spend just a second on President Trump's post yesterday about Rob Reiner. It made me sad, made me really sad, because I like the president, and he doesn't help himself when he does things like this. And this is, but I think I understand this in a different way. The president has said, all kinds of things about me at times. When I disagree with him, he'll say, yeah, he's just a failing fat blob or whatever. And that's just him. That's just the way he does. When he is in a fight, he's a knife fighter. And I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. This was different. And this was, you can say a lot of stuff politically about Rob Reiner, but politics didn't matter yesterday. It just didn't matter. It didn't matter. But I think to the president, it does. I saw a change in the president. I've seen two changes in the president. I've seen a change in him when they started going after him and his family after 2020. And they really started going after his family. And we know this because we showed you the documents. What they had a plan, take him down, take his family down, to stop MAGA at all costs, put them in jail. I mean, those are their words. And it was frightening to read. And I talked to the president, I don't know, maybe 6 months after, we were in 2021, maybe 6 months, 8 months. And I said, how are you holding up? And he had talked a little bit about, how he felt like he had really let people down because he had things going in the right direction. And now look at it and look how screwed up things are going to be and how the economy is going to be damn near impossible to fix. It'll take us time, but we can fix it, but they've just destroyed it. And I said, how are you personally? How are you holding up? And this is the first change I saw. His body changed. And he said, they're going after my damn children. And it was this dad. All of a sudden, he wasn't the president or former president. He wasn't Donald Trump. He was a dad. And it was every dad response in him. And he said, you don't go after our children. And I saw him really, truly mad for the very first time. And it was righteous indignation. Then after he was shot, I saw another change. I saw him recognize that God existed. I mean, I know he believed in God, but I don't know if he believed that God was actually part of, the story, the everyday story. I don't know how he views God in that way. But I know that he recognized that God was in the story of America now. Firsthand, he witnessed it. The reason why I say this made me sad yesterday is because I don't agree with what he said. I feel it was sad because he has been kicked in the head over and over and over again by some of these people that Christmas is about the baby Jesus coming in and what he can do in your life. And the biggest thing that he taught was love your enemies, don't hate them. But that's really, really hard to do. And the president isn't there yet on this. And it made me sad. How'd you feel about it, Stu?
I didn't like it at all. I think maybe the same as you. One of the things that bothered me about it, because you hit many of the points that I had on it without the personal insight to Trump, and I think that is illustrative of what he's going through. I think there is something to understand there. Obviously,
Big time.
One of the things that is difficult about life and your attempt to master it is to try to act the right way, even when you're faced with circumstances like that. And I get it. I get why he's angry and doesn't like the guy. But you used a phrase, I think, in there where you said, he's a knife fighter. Like, this guy was actually just in a legitimate knife fight and was murdered with his wife.
Oh yeah,
right. Like this actually really happened. Look, my honest opinion is it's indefensible. I like President Trump. I think he does a lot of great things for the country. We've defended him on a lot of different things. A lot of times when he's being attacked, I think he deserves defense. In this case, it is what it is. It is priced in to everyone's understanding of who Donald Trump is. And everything I've heard about him in personal situations where he cares about the person and is that he's very generous, he's very likable, he's very he's one of those people that you like being around. That is something that I have heard from tons of people. This part of him is really hard for me to square with what I've heard. From everybody that I've talked to who has been on the inside with him, and so I don't have a defense for it. I think it's really bad. And I will say one more thing on this real quickly, Glenn. Another part of this that I think is difficult, in that one of the things that I took from the aftermath of that immediately was, I don't know if pride's the right word, but like, I really liked the way conservatives responded to it. We didn't do what they did after Charlie Kirk. We didn't do what they did after they shot the president, right? Like, they celebrated it. They were horrible human beings, and I enjoyed the high ground that we had there.
Yeah, I do too.
And it's difficult to make the argument that we have the high ground when the president of the Republican Party, the Republican president of the United States, the most high-profile person on "quote unquote" our side, whatever that means these days, is a guy who kind of did some of the things that they did. So I don't like that. I understand it's part of Donald Trump, and I think, if we're all adults here, we're able to kind of price that in and judge him on everything that he's doing. And when I mean pricing it in, I think that's a negative part of him. But overall, you have to take everything into context.
Right. And if we're all adults here, we should be able to say to those that we love and respect, bad move. I didn't like that. Don't do that. And I think, because the left always says, well, you never take on your own. Yes, we do. We take on our own all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important that we say, didn't like that, thought it was a bad move, thought it didn't look good, just wasn't right. I wish, and again, though, I'm not excusing it, but I am tempering it with none of us have gone through what he has gone through with his family, somebody shooting at him, being called fascist Hitler all the time. I mean, that wears on you and changes you. And he's having a hard time forgiving that. And I kind of understand that. I wish he would take that on and take on the forgiveness so he could be more a peacemaker in all of those things. But that is his own personal journey. But
yeah, and I think when we talk about like a terrible crime that's occurred, like I don't know if there was you think about some awful situation, and at times he'll hear family members say the worst possible thing. If your kid is murdered and by someone of a particular area or group or whatever, and they might react with just an awful thing about that group or area. And like, we all have a bit of understanding, right? Of a person going through a massively emotional thing, and lashing out. You want, the example you bring up all the time, Glenn, of maybe the ultimate example of being able to have restraint was the Amish situation from years ago, where you were talking about mass murder, and they were to the family's house that night. right, and saying,
Yep.
Not
that night, that after, I mean, within an hour.
Their
kids were not even out of the school yet. Their bodies were still laying in the school, and the Amish went, oh my gosh, the killer is dead too. He was a member of our community. His wife lives here.
Right.
What is she feeling? She's feeling completely alone. My gosh, what an example. I couldn't do that.
Right. I don't even think I come close to that standard in that moment.
No.
But
I'd like to.
That's the range, right? Like some people react really well, and some people react really poorly. And I think we all understand the emotion and everything that takes over in a situation like that, and that has to be factored in, I think, to Trump. Now, of course, Rob Reiner wasn't responsible for the shooting. He's just a liberal who said really bad things about Donald Trump.
Horrible.
He is a very unique person in a very unique situation that I don't think anyone in the world has ever experienced. What has happened with him over his life.
May I just say that you still haven't forgiven RFK Jr. for what he said about me? Okay.
As I said, I'm not Amish. I like technology. I don't have any wagons. I didn't say I'm perfect. No, I mean, I have absolutely forgiven RFK Jr. for what he said. And if you didn't know, he accused Glenn of being a traitor, something that is, and said he should be charged with treason, which the penalty of which is death. So, I don't like that. And RFK Jr., I don't like for a lot of his policies. Some of them, by the way, I do really like. Some of the things he's done, I think, are positive. Some of them, I can give you a list of some of the negative things that he's done as well.
I can too.
But that doesn't mean I do find that to be in appropriate context when the embrace of RFK Jr. is occurring. I think we need to understand who people are and what they might be doing. But if he's apologetic about that, I do forgive him in that sense. Do I want him on the show and promoting all of his books and his candidacy? No, I did not like that. But a lot of people do. I will say you're right though. We all have our hangups. I would not.
We all do. I do.
I will say this though. I mean, and again, all the context here. I know people are really defensive of Donald Trump appropriately because of the fact he is constantly targeted unfairly. I understand why people are very defensive of him. But I can tell you this, I really don't like RFK Jr. He's one of my least favorite people in politics. I'm just not a fan. I could give you other names of people. Most of them revolve around Olivia Nuzzi, who I have no, whatever. I don't really have any feelings about her, but the story was packed with people
Cuomo
I don't like.
Is up there too.
Yeah, Cuomo's for sure. But God forbid one of these people that I really don't like was murdered in his family with their spouse. I can promise you, I will not be tweeting anything like what Donald Trump tweeted. That is just a situation where I understand the context around it that we just discussed, but I don't think there's a defense to it. I think it's something I really hope he has an awakening on at some point.
I think that is enough to be said on that. Now, maybe we should examine ourselves and say, where do we have that hardness in our heart that we should learn from and remove this holiday season?